Hello, Queens and Kings. My name is Thandeka Shabangu. Welcome to my channel. If it's your first time here, welcome, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Welcome to today's tutorial. Today we'll be doing a beaded neck piece. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I call this Imvula-kabini, which originates from the Xhosa tribe. And I've seen it also being used in other tribes. Please correct me if I'm wrong when it comes to the name in the comment section. So, according to my knowledge, it's called Imvula-kabini. So for this tutorial, we'll be doing it in two parts. The first part, we'll be doing the center. And then the second part will be focusing on these long strings. Let me call them the tassels. So that's the second part. So what we'll be needing for today, we'll be using our 11 knot sized zest beads, our needle, and your thread. I usually do not use upholstery thread because an upholstery thread is thicker, so it's not, you can't use it for 11 knot size beads. So I use a nylon cotton thread. This thread, you can also burn it. Yeah, so it's a nylon cotton thread. I don't know the size, but all I can say is that I can use it for 11 knot sized beads. So let's get started. Okay, so for this project, you're first going to need this belt. This is going to be the back part. Now just make it to be 21 centimeters. Oh, it's not clear. The 21 is not really bright. 21 centimeters long. Ne? For it, I used 11 knot beads. I used 11 knot beads throughout. The original plan was for me to just use black and white beads, but one thing led to another. So once you make this belt, your 21 centimeter long belt, you put it aside. And then you're going to make this thick belt. Now, for this one, the length is 7 centimeters long. And then the width is around 4.5. For this, the foundation I used 36. And then I made a replica of the two. So this is how it's supposed to be. The reason why for the tutorial do not include the making of the belt is because I believe that I don't want to limit you to only using one pattern. So there are different patterns. So we want to do different kinds of patterns that you like. And then I thought the pattern was not important. For me, was joining the belts. Yeah, that's the way to explain it. So for me, the priority was joining the belt and not really the pattern. You can make different kinds of pattern. This is not the only pattern you can make. I decided to be extreme and you can also decide on a pattern that is less extreme, anything that you like. So now I'm going to put the belt aside. We are now going to make the buttons. These are the buttons that we are going to make. Né? All right, you put the belt aside, then you take your thread and your needle, and then you take your 11 knot sized beads. These are my 11 knot sized beads. They're so mixed. And then you take one big bead. The bead that I'm using here, I'm just going to include the size in writing. It's the bead that you usually use for Zulu traditional outfit, the plastic beads. You can also use a pearl or anything That is a bigger size. So what you're going to do, you're first going to tie threads. You're going to tie knots on your thread. So I'm just going to do my TikTok method. 1, 2, then I pull my needle. And there you go, I have my knot. And then I'm going to make black balls. This is because the color goes well with the pattern that I have here, because I have this black border. So for me, I think the black balls are going to be appropriate. Also, depending on your pattern, you can choose the color that will be preferable for your pattern. So I'm going to take one bead, push it down and create a stopper bead. Then take my needle and insert it into an opposite direction, and then I pull. Oopsie. Just making sure that your bead is closer to your knot. Ne? Then I take my big bead and then I push it down. Just leave just a small gap to give you allowance to work on. Now I am going to pick up my 11 knot beads. First, I'm going to pick up 5 beads. I'm going to then insert my needle from the bottom of the bead and push it up. Oopsie. Sorry, it slipped away. There you go. So this is what we have. These are my 5 beads. So first you have to look at how many beads cover your bead well. Ne? So 5 beads cover this big bead well. So the next number of beads that you're going to pick up are going to be 1 bead less than this number. So I picked up 5 beads. The next number of beads are going to be 4 beads. Then I insert my needle from the bottom and I pull up. And then they're next to each other like that. So you have 4 beads, 5 beads and 4 beads. So the next number of beads, you go back to 5 beads. So you just make sure that they're like that, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4. But remember, it also depends on how many number of beads that cover your bigger bead. Oopsie, what am I doing now? So these are my 4 beads. My 4 beads are this side. When I pulled, they moved to this side. Ne? So that's why I'm now currently on this side and not on my right. Then I add my 5 beads. Make sure it's nice and secure, unlike mine. Here you go. Here are my 5 beads. And the next, you pick up 4 beads. So it's going to be 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4. Let me just do this to the thread. Okay. So you're going to keep doing your 5, 4 until your bead is completely covered. To save time, I'm not going to do everything until it's completely done. Probably going to come back until we only have one more line left. So now this is the last part. Now here's a tip to make sure that really you have one more line to do. Just pull in between the lines to see if the gap that is opening is big. So as you can see, the gap is very massive when I pull in between the beads. So that means I have one more strength of beads that I have to add. So the previous beads that I added were 5 beads. So now I'm going to pick up 4 beads. So this is the last line that I'm adding. Making sure that it's nice and secure. Put it in between nicely. And here we go. So when you pull the beads apart, doesn't really show that much, né? So this is the ball that we're going to use, and then you continue to make 2 more, so that in total you have 3 balls. But please, when you're done, do not cut off the tail, because the tail is what we're going to use to stitch the balls into the belt. So now I'm going to put my other 2 balls aside and take my 1 ball, and I still have my needle with me, né? So what I do, I take one side of my belt. This is going to be the front side of your belt. So just make sure that this is actually the part that you would like. You can also do this, but I would love to have this. But when I look here at the sides, it doesn't match. So it bothers me. It's bothering me, okay? Okay, so you're going to add the ball at the top, the middle, and the bottom. Okay, so these are the 3 points where we are going to stitch our ball into the belt. So if you look at your belt closely, there are these beads that are close to the border. Like this bead is one of them when you're using this stitch, because there are different kinds of stitches. This bead, and this bead. So these beads that are closer to the edge, let me say that, closer to the end. So it also depends on the kind of stitch that you are using. So what I'm going to do, going to insert my needle into this one bead here. Then I am going to pull. And then I'm not going to pull completely, because I would like to see first what I'm going to do. And then I do this again. Right. Sorry that there are cottons hanging everywhere. This is because I like trimming at the end. So here my ball is inserted. Then what I can do is fasten it, just to make sure that it's nice and tight. So wait, let me cut these cottons off. Okay, now the cottons are trimmed. So make sure you pull so that your ball can be nice and tight. See, and I do it doesn't fall off. But if it's loose, it's gonna do this. Just pull, make sure it's at the top and that it's nice and tight. So what I'm going to do now is to fasten. Just going to take the tail and put it around like this. Then I take my needle, put it under the circle that I just created, and then I make a knot. So this knot has to be inside here, doesn't have to show, has to be nice and neat. Take the tail again, make another knot, take the tail again, Then take my needle, put it under the circle, and then I pull. Pull carefully and slowly. Just make sure you secure. So here it is, nice and secure. Even if you do this, it doesn't move. Ne? Then you're going to cut your thread off. So we've added one. So what you're going to do now is add the remaining 2 balls. So we're going to add another one at the center and another one at the end there. Oh, another thing, this is what you can do to just make sure that you know your center. You can just bend it in half and then see where your center is. For me, in my case, I'm assisted by the pattern. I can already tell which part is the center. But if you have a different pattern, you can just bend your belt and make sure that it's nicely secured at the center. So here is our belt with our 3 buttons. This is going to be the right side of our belt. And then now we're going to be busy with the left side of the belt. So what we'll be doing now are hooks that will be drawing the buttons together. Okay, so you're going to take your needle and your thread again and make knots. So for this part, you want to really make sure that your hooks are exactly where your button is, so that your 2 belts won't be slanted when they are next to each other. So a clever way of doing that is to just take the 2 belts and put them like this side by side, just to see where exactly your hook should go. So from here, I can tell that, oh, okay, my hook has to be between these 2 points, between the gray and the white. That is where my hook should be, between the gray and the white. Okay, so I take it, I put it aside for now. Then I take my needle and my thread. I made my knots, and then just a bit further away, you're just gonna insert your thread here into one bead, this bead, and then you secure it by tying a knot in between the beads, just to make sure it is nice and secure. Here we go again with the loose threads. So you tie it nicely, making sure that it is neat look. So it came this side. I pulled too hard. Okay. And then to get to the gray, I have to insert my needle into 2 more beads. Here I go. Here I am. So now I'm going to pick up 10 beads. So here are my 10 beads that I've picked up. So what I'm going to do, I just want to show you. Okay, let me do this. Remember, let me not say remember, that's the wrong word. As you can see here, we have these 2 spaces. So when I come back, I will have to insert my needle into the bead next to the thread that was going out. The reason why I'm showing it now is because once I have hooked the button to the hook, it won't show properly because there'll be a lot of things going on. Eh? So I have my 10 beads here. Then I'm going to take my needle. First, make sure that your patterns align. If you have a pattern that has to align, then you do your side by side again. I think it's better when you hold it like this. So you are going to make sure that the 10 beads that you have are hooked around the button. And then I'm going to insert my needle into that one bead I mentioned before, and then I pull my thread. I pull my thread. Make sure it's nice and pulled. So this will make you see the distance. Just let me pull it again and put it down. So this will make me see the space in between. So when you make your hooks, usually when you make your hook and your button, you make your hook a bit bigger because you want to be able to untie your button. But for this pattern, it's different, because if you do that, there will be a big gap, which is what we are not wanting at the moment. This is not what we are looking for. Instead, we want them to be nice and close to each other. So there's no need for your hook to be big in size. It just has to be enough for it to cover your button around. Okay? Let me just pull it and make sure it is nice and secure. Okay. Once I've done that, I am going to tie a knot. It might not show because of all the things that are happening. So here's my first knot. And then I tie my second knot like this. So here we are with the first part. So I'm going to do the second and the third hook. Remember, you pick up 10 beads or any number of beads, but just make sure that it's just enough beads to just cover your button, sort of like grasp your button. There's no need for your button to be free, because the bigger your hook, the bigger the gap in between the two belts that you have. Nah? All right, so I'll come back. I'm just gonna on the side and do hook number 2 and hook number 3. Remember to put your belt side by side like this so that it will show you where your hook should be exactly. So I can tell from this one that, oh, okay, from this one, my hook should be at this point exactly, based on what I can see when I put the belts side by side. I'll come back. So this is the first part done and dusted. As you can see, everything is hooked. And yeah, can't wait for the second part, where we'll be just adding meat into the bones that we have. Remember to prepare your belt and have it ready. Do not limit your creativity. Do any pattern that you love. If you love triangles, do that. If you love diamonds, do that. If you want lines, do that. So this is where we're going to stop for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, Queens and Kings. I love you guys so, so much. Remember to love yourself, honor yourself, respect yourself, and have fun. If you love the content that you're seeing, please consider subscribing. See you on the next video. Bye.